Now invite Professor Mark Davies to tell us about the relevance of Alice in the Himalayan Wonderland. Professor Mark Davies is an Oxford local historian, author, public speaker, guide, and a publisher specializing in the history of Northern University, Oxford, with a particular focus on the city's waterways. Most of Mark's early life was spent by the sea in Hampshire, Sussex, Kent, and South Wales, but his interest in the inland rather than coastal waters grew as a result of a chance decision to live on a canal boat in central Oxford in 1992. After living in Eppington for a couple of years, an author of 6 Oxford local interest books, Mark is also a regular contributor of articles on various aspects of Oxford's local history to the Oxford Times limited edition magazine. He also provides commentaries on Thames cruises operated by Oxford Lever Cruises and has hosted Mac tea parties at Christchurch. Mark still resides on his boat, Bill the Lizard, in central Oxford, and continues to achieve in the much publicized ongoing campaign to retain a boatyard in the Oxford suburb of Jericho. So ladies and gentlemen, please, with a huge and a thundering round of applause, welcome Professor Davies to the podium.
So Mark is a very dear friend, and he's actually showing us the forest, the entire story of Alice in Wonderland. We're trying to create the Himalayas in Wonderland, and that's really where he's there. But his great-great-grandfather did the first map of Assam, 1793. So he's really getting from great heritage, who's actually sort of come here to rediscover this journey. So he's actually going to do a river journey. And the river journeys in bungalows of India, which Robbie and ourselves and everybody, Richard and everybody are involved in, he's going to do this river journey and try and do 1793 down from Silighat to Guwahati. Very soon he's also going to Gorgaon, which was the original capital of Assam, not any other place as we actually believe. So it's been a lot of effort because Mark has gone to other places along with his buddy, who's a landscaper from Oxford, Alan. I think it's really a privilege to have them here, and I'm sorry I've taken 2 minutes of talk time, but I just thought that everything that he does is so wonderful, and it's really a heritage hand-me-down of discovery, loving nature, and everything that goes with it. So over to you, sir.
All right, thank you very much. What a hard act to follow. Thank you very much. I'm sure you're going to hear a lot of profound expert opinions over the next couple of days. We've already heard some really inspirational words. The one thing I can be fairly confident about is that for the next few minutes, that won't be the case. You can relax a little bit, and thank you very much. And I'm aware that we are well behind time. This was scheduled for half an hour. I think I will try and speed up quickly. You can put your mind slightly into sleep mode, I think. If you do, if you find something interesting in what I have to say, brilliant. If you don't, then I hope you'll just relax a little bit and be a little bit surprised about some of the inspiration, some of the reality, some of the Oxford reality which underlies the Alice story. So there you are. You get a bit. I hope those of you who are from Assam will get the little joke with the undulating land rather than wonderland. I hope. If you're not from Assam, ask somebody who is, and you'll get the idea. It's a challenge to do a Himalayan Alice, of course, because this image is the only hill that I'm aware of in Wonderland, and that image indeed comes from the second book, Through the Looking Glass. I'm going to assume that everybody knows a little bit about this story. You will, I hope, recognise one or two of the characters, and as I say, that's the only sort of elevated bit, because we are here at almost the highest point in the world, but the Alice story, what's going to happen? How do I, oh, okay. So the Alice story happens underground, as you can see. That may surprise you already, I hope so. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland was not the original title, that was underground. So I'm turning the whole thing upside down, mountains to underground. And were the author, Lewis Carroll, to be sitting in the audience today, I would hope that he would quite like that topsy-turvy way that I've interpreted this challenge to talk about Alice and the mountains. And there, contrary to the images that you will be familiar with in the book, the girl with the long blonde hair, that's the real Alice. She was a real girl. She was the daughter of the Dean of Christ Church, the famous Oxford College, and Lewis Carroll, as I called him, his pen name, was a dog, a teacher at the university. There you go. The natural history of Wonderland. Look at that. All of these things are, and that's not all of them actually. I didn't create this slide, I have to say, I pinched this from a friend. We don't have time to digest all of those. I will mention just a couple of them, and conveniently, one in particular fits with the theme, well, two actually, of the theme of the previous speakers. The story begins with a rabbit. So here's our first mammal, and that's the underground bit, of course. Alice goes down a rabbit hole. And uniquely in this story, we can pinpoint the exact moment, the exact day, the exact afternoon that this world-famous story began. I mean, this must be unique in the history of literature, I suspect. 4th of July, 1862, a boat trip. And here we get the first glimpse of the river. That's my joining, that's my sort of unifying element in this talk, is to try to get out the draft. Oh, that's better. No, that's not better. I'm being blinded. I'm probably standing in someone's way. Anyway. So, the river is there. This very first sentence of the book, Alice was beginning to get very tired of sitting by her sister on the bank. So the River Thames is there right from that first moment. Boat trips, key to the story, over 7 years. That's how the stories got created, and you get that idea there. And there, in the black and white image, you have the rabbit. Probably this is based on reality. We still have rabbits on that bank of the Thames to this day. Carroll saw the rabbit go down the rabbit hole, was telling the story to Alice, just invented it just as it happened. That's my suspicion. Those of you that know Oxford, well, here's a panoramic view. I can't make the laser work, but that's probably my stupidity. I'm not very good at technicalities. But right up in the northeast, you can see the river, I hope, at the top, the River Thames. This is the one that goes on to London. It flows to the west of the city and it comes down at the bottom left here, past and then flows onwards to London. And just immediately above the word Oxford, that's Christ Church. That's the college where this whole thing began. And my absolutely brilliant title, I'm sure you'll agree, of my book, Alice in Waterland, because it is the river. The river is absolutely key to all of this. And I am a river man, I live on a boat. Just one example now of a exact moment in time captured in Lewis Carroll's diary, 17th of June 1862. This is the beginning of the Pool of Tears. This is where Alice gets very big, she gets very upset, she gets very small, she's swimming in a pool of her own tears. Here is Lewis Carroll's version of that, his own hand-drawn illustration of that particular scene, which is based very clearly on that exact moment of time on a boat trip where they got caught in a rainstorm, got soaked, and found sanctuary. The dodo, the duck, the lorry, the eaglet, these are real people. I'm not going to go into all of them, no time. The dodo is the important one, because the dodo, which features there, is important for two reasons. One is that the most complete organic remains of any of these birds, these extinct birds, are at Oxford. But the other point is that the dodo is a joke against the author himself. He is referring to himself. His real name is Dodgson, Charles Dodgson. He had this speech impediment. He would presumably pronounce his own name, Dodgson. It's a little joke against himself. And there you are. There is the author himself. Extinction was mentioned by the previous speaker. I'm pleased to be able to sort of get the continuity in by accident in that way. Mushrooms were also mentioned a bit earlier, so hooray, I've got that one right as well. Here's the caterpillar. He, on a mushroom, who commands that Alice should recite this poem, Your Old Father William. Now, that's a parody. Lewis Carroll was making a parody of a very famous poem of the time, written by one of the romantic poets, Robert Southey. Within this story, well, I won't dwell on it, but it is the only image within the whole of the book that has the River Thames. Although the river is hugely important in the creation of the story, there are no images of it bar this one. There's another animal, a river creature, the eel, and the eel traps on the right-hand side. The story goes on. So this is how it begins, or rather ends. The young man keeps asking old Father William a succession of questions. He gets fed up. He says, do you think I can listen all day to such stuff? Some of you may be already thinking that about what I'm saying, but I'm sorry, you've got a little bit more to go, and we're going to come now from Oxford to closer to here, indeed, right here. Ranjit just mentioned about my forebear, my ancestor, Thomas Wood, who was the first man to map the Brahmaputra. And here is his map of just this part of the river, which he described, he spelt it as Guwahati. Interesting to me as a historian because he annotates the maps with little bits of information about various skirmishes and battles, various military activities. That's his original on the left, which is at the British Library. That's a printed version, which is at the National Archives of India. But my excuse for doing this is the river. So the River Thames, important to me and to Alice and to Lewis Carroll. The River Brahmaputra, of course, very important to you. So he did the entire section from Golpara downstream. This is the first section going up towards Guwahati. He also, the section going up to Bhutan, he did just in 1 month when there was a problem actually moving forward on the Brahmaputra itself. And there's the western side, sorry, the eastern extent all the way up to Sibsagar. In July 1794, he was hugely frustrated by being recalled. The entire British contingent here was recalled, which he described as the worst happening, because he was determined, he really, really wanted to carry on and try and get to the source. That would have been a real challenge, of course, but of course they didn't know at that time. Why is that of relevance? Well, yeah, as you've already heard, actually, there's my small family tree. 4 individuals at the top there, each of them progenitors of Anglo-Indian lines, because they all had children with local Bengali women, some of whom, well, a couple of whom I know the names of even. There's Thomas Wood at the left, and my great-grandfather at the bottom. And I put this up just because I just want to mention a little bit briefly, and I am speeding through this in order to try to catch up time. Matthew Leslie, very interesting. I've just come with my friend Alistair from Oxford. We've been to a place called Leslie Ganj in Jharkhand, which is named after Leslie. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about that, but what's rather convenient within the context of this conference is this. He was brought while at Chhatra in where's that, near Hazaribagh, some of you would know it, in modern day Jharkhand. He was brought a dead body of a pangolin, and there's an image from about that time. He wrote a paper about it because it was a little known animal at this time. And there, isn't that rather brilliant what he wrote within this paper? There are in our Indian provinces many animals and many hundreds of medicinal plants which have either not been described at all or, what is worse, ill-described by the naturalists of Europe. And to procure perfect descriptions of them from actual examination with accounts of their several uses in medicine, diet, or manufactures appears to be one one of the most important objects of our institution. I was really, really refreshed to see that. You know, this was not a man that was here to conquer by any means. He was a man that was here to learn, exactly as I am. Ranjit said earlier, what did you say? We're not here to teach, but to learn, and that's certainly how I feel. I'm privileged to be here in order to do that. So to conclude, I think, this is a bit of an adventure to me. You know, Alice had an adventure, I had an adventure. I've not shown these slides in this kind of way publicly ever before. Here's the lizard. That's the relevance of that. Oh, yes, sorry, yes. So I'm moving on from a pangolin, a reptile, to another reptile within Wonderland. Bill the lizard is the name of my boat, in fact. The lizard features a couple of times in Wonderland. And once at the trial, the lizard is part of the jury. So, to conclude, I'm just going to, follow the very sound advice of the King of Hearts, who was present at that trial of the Knave of Hearts. It's good advice, isn't it? Begin at the beginning. I did that. Go on till you come to the end. Then stop. I think I've stopped. Yes. Thank you.